Hi, volleyball fans, and welcome back to Volley Talk, the podcast created for volleyball lovers who want to dig deep into what is going on in NCAA and international volleyball. I'm your host, Sarah Pavin. I'm an Olympian, beach volleyball world champion, former Nebraska Cornhusker, and longtime pro, both indoor and on the beach.
And I'm Adam Schultz, former indoor player, international volleyball coach, and the show's resident stat guy.
We were in New York for what was supposed to be a few days, turned into almost a week, let me tell you.
Slept in an airport with an 11-month-old.
Oh my goodness. It was a bit of an adventure.
Real planes, trains, and automobiles.
Oh my gosh. We made it. We made it home. The purpose of the trip was inspiring. Very well done. 50 years of the Collegiate Women's Sports Awards. So we went to New York to celebrate that, which is why we missed or skipped our episode last week. We are frazzled. We don't know up from down. We are still recovering. Our baby is still recovering. We don't know what is up, but we are hoping to adequately sum up, go over the major storylines from both the women's Final 8 and the men's Final 8. We watched as much as we could the matches that really jumped out at us. We made sure to tune in. Hopefully we will do this justice. We're excited to dive in. So let's get started. The only weekly highlight I have for you is the following. Guess who Hawaii hired as their women's volleyball coach? I told you, you know.
But when you asked me the first time, I had no idea.
When I asked, I was like, guess who? He could not guess. Heather Olmstead, the former coach of BYU, was hired to take over the Hawaii women's volleyball program. What do you think about this?
It's a little head scratching to me. I know the Hawaii women haven't been particularly strong as of late, but when you think of Hawaii volleyball in general, there is a prestige, at least to me, about that program. And just what happened at BYU and their performance over the last couple of years, that just doesn't inspire confidence to me. Like, I would have assumed that Hawaii was looking for somebody to turn the program around so that they're in, I don't want to say contention, but like on the rise. Given the performance history, I don't see that happening.
Okay, I'm not going to lie. My first thought when I saw this was like, could they not get anybody to relocate to Hawaii? That might be harsh, but like...
Her track record is not good.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I assumed that they were going to take a flyer on a young assistant coach who had been at a really good program for the last 3 to 5 years. That was the profile that I expected. I'm not sure.
Will she turn the program around?
I mean, listen, we can always have our opinions up front. It's a show me industry. You know, you've got, I would say, 2 years with the transfer portal and things that you can do to turn a program around and at least show that it's moving in the right direction. We'll see how it plays out, but I'm surprised, again, kind of like not about her, but just about the profile of who they hired. I think that's the shocking part to me.
All right. Let's get into the meat of the episode here. Women's VNL.
There's a lot to talk about, so we're going to have to figure out how we're going to do this.
There are several storylines. Okay, obviously, Turkiye won. Second time that they've ever won. So I think we obviously need to dive in.
Congratulations.
We got absolutely ripped apart for saying that, for predicting, okay, it is a prediction, that Canada would beat Turkiye. You guys, we have nothing against Turkiye. We are just throwing out predictions here. But anyway, people were very, very mad about that. We said what we said. We were wrong. It happens. There's that. Then Italy, Brazil, the Brazil issue, they never win. Italy, questions about them. And of course, we have a ton of American listeners. The fact that the 1 seed in the US didn't make it past the quarters for the team that got the auto entry because they hosted. Am I missing anything?
Well, I think maybe just touching on Japan at some point,
Just
how
because.
they play. Well, they're a good team, and what do they need to do to kind of get over the hump?
Okay. Let's start with Turkiye because they won.
Okay. For me, this VNL was about the top players performing for the different teams. And statistically, if you look at it, whichever team had the better top player generally won, and Vargas was unbelievable. Her stats across all of the matches were phenomenal. She was the best player and the MVP, and her team won because of it. There's so many things you can get into, but at the end of the day, for me, watching the women's side of the bracket, that's what it came down to, and she was unbelievable.
She's their star. She played like a star. I didn't watch, as we mentioned at the top of the episode, we had a lot going on. So I watched their final against Brazil. Not going to lie. Didn't see their semi or quarter. But she, like you said, Vargas was absolutely unstoppable. The thing that stood out for me, though, about Turkiye was how relentlessly they were playing defense.
So there's a couple things to dive into here. Continue, and I have some thoughts about that as well.
It's just you could tell that they had a solid game plan. They were prepared. Right off the hop, Vargas is completely shutting down Anna Cristina, set one. Okay. Then the game is progressing. You're seeing Orge, I probably said her name wrong, the libero, making incredible plays. You're seeing them make crazy cover plays, sacrificing the body, just like they were refusing to let the ball hit the floor. And for me, that sent the message of like, we want this. We're here to take this. I was so impressed at their hustle and their team defense, aside from Vargas, who was impressive on her own. The whole team found a way to keep the ball alive to get her the ball. I didn't think they ran their middle enough, or hardly at all.
9% in the final. 9% of sets went to the middle in the final.
They barely set their middle. I thought Aydin and Baladin held their own. Aydin, particularly later in the match, really showed up. I thought she played really well, was scoring some key points down the stretch in set 4.
And I thought Baladin, over the course of the tournament, was outstanding. Their left side core, to me, I was curious how it was going to go without Karakurt. Like, we know they have the potential to do pretty good ball control. Both of those players are like solid all-around players, but I was curious how well they were going to score. Baladin outscored Gray from an efficiency standpoint and a stats standpoint in the quarterfinal, and then played incredibly well, hit 340 in the final against Brazil. Like, Vargas deserves the MVP and the credit, but their left sides,
they did their job.
Yes.
They held it down for sure. You can look back and be like, they should have set their middle more. They won. So who's going to say anything? But like, Vargas held it down. The left sides did exactly what they needed to do. And then for the rest of the time, the team kept the ball alive to be able to feed this point score. And like, that's what you need to do. They looked like they wanted it more. They were fighting. Their attitude was like hungry. I thought that they deserved to win.
I agree with everything that you said. And now I have a existential question for you about Turkey. Karakurt's not on the floor.
Yeah.
Right? She's a better attacker than the other two left sides, but she's a defensive liability. And I don't think she kind of fits that team ethos that we saw in this VNL final.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Turkiye, do you mess with that going into Euros? Like, if she's healthy and she's available, are you a better team with her on the floor, or with Vargas scoring the way she's scoring? Do you prioritize defense and keeping the ball alive? Like, I'm not sure where they go from here and what the decision is. And it's a conundrum, quite frankly.
I've been thinking the same thing. I'm like, okay, if she, for all intents and purposes, if she's apparently going to be ready to go for European Championships. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing after they won. I was like, do you mess with this? Aydin stepped in and did her job. She did really well. do you mess up the momentum you've created to put your traditional starter in? But my answer is no. I think you ride this out, and if Vargas falters, bring Karakurt in. But even your statement of she's a better attacker, I'm sorry, Aydin and Baladin did really well.
No.
And a Karakurt, it can be high error.
Yes. So let me preface that. Baladin, they both played incredibly well in this VNL. I think historically it's fair to say that Karakurt is a better attacker than them over the long term.
Well, my question for you is, if Karakurt was playing, do you think they would have won?
My instinct is no, because I think they won because of their defense.
I agree with you. That was my thought too. I was like, if Karakurt was here, we know that she's not great defensively and her ball control is not, passing wise is not great. I don't think they win without her, because you're not seeing her make the kind of defensive plays that Turkiye was making in that match. The kind of out of system setting we saw.
Yeah.
Like, it was something.
The margins in the final, in terms of team stats between Turkey and Brazil, like they were all either tied or within 1 point. The only real difference was opponent errors. So Turkiye got 17 errors from Brazil versus their 12. And from a hitting percentage standpoint, both Anna Cristina and Bergman were at 190, and Baladin and Aydin hit over 300 from an efficiency standpoint. So we're talking about errors and margins, and Turkiye won because they managed their errors. And I'm not sure.
Well, and they've probably forced more errors because of their block defense.
100%. And I'm not sure Karakurt fits that mold in general. I mean, it's a good problem to have a very good player on the bench. But
well, Italy has this. I mean,
yeah. But the team, I liked the team dynamic and the cohesiveness we saw from them in the final. Honestly, it kind of felt like that was the missing ingredient for them to be a consistent contender, in my opinion. You were kind of always waiting for a meltdown or a couple runs of points, and they just didn't give that up. Yeah. They were impressive to watch.
I liked this iteration of Turkiye.
I agree.
I really liked it. I liked it when they had Jack Kissal in the middle with Gunesh. I liked, the Aydin Baladin combo. I think Shaheen did really well setting. Just the decision making and the personnel decisions, I think they found a really nice recipe for a combination of skill, but also maximizing their strength and attitude on the court.
Agreed. I am very curious to see what happens in Euros with their lineup decisions.
I'm very curious as well, but huge congrats to Turkiye. Totally. Honestly, it was fun to watch, and Vargas deserved the MVP 100%. She was outstanding.
Yeah. Okay, so let's flip this to the Brazilian side.
Okay.
What were your thoughts on that? So I kind of mentioned that Ana Cristina hit 190, Bergman hit 190. Brazil only ran the middle 11% of the time, which I thought was a miss in that regard.
Yeah.
Like, I get the Brazilian middles block middle very well. We saw that against Italy, against Ana Denise. They did a good job of slowing her down. I get why Turkiye didn't run the middle a ton against them, but I thought Brazil needed to run the middle more because their outsides weren't scoring super efficiently.
Okay, well, we knew coming into this that they were missing some pieces with Julia and Gabi being out. Okay, that's fine. We watched their semi against Italy. We watched their final against Turkey. It just looked, I will say, we have been pretty critical of Brazil's right sides throughout, the past couple of years. I think in the final, well, just generally in this final 8, Jose Maria stepped up and she played very well in a position that has historically been a hole for Brazil. So I was like, you know what? She's coming in. She's fired up. I think she did a really good job for them.
She was their best player.
Yes, I agree.
Went 17 for 34 and hit 380. Like
in the final?
In the final.
Yeah.
You can't ask for anything more than that from her.
Yeah. I think she was their best player in the final. I think she did really well in the semi as well. I found the setting to be questionable again. I'm just
Yep.
like, Roberto, why are you bump setting balls that are literally so high? It looked like her and Marcelli were having some communication issues. Marcelli kept making moves to like step in and set balls that Roberto was running and trying to set, and then they like were getting confused and one of them would just throw their hands out. I'm like, how are we having this kind of confusion and miscommunication at this point in the season?
And I didn't love her connection with the middle either. Like,
no, like swing and miss a
Yes.
couple times. Like, how is this happening? Macrease came in and did a decent job when she came in. Kesey, when they did the double sub, I thought that double sub served them very well. But of the 4 players in that position, setter right side, Roberto, what are you doing?
I mean, we've talked about this. I didn't think Marcelli was very good either. So you're missing
Marcelli gets pulled in set 4 of this final because she's not doing anything.
your 2 skilled positions cannot be your worst players if you're going to win, especially a final.
Well, not to mention, Bergman and Anna Christina have had outstanding VNL. We had them on our hypothetical dream team. Okay, that's how good they've been playing. I thought they did decent in the semi. I thought they played okay.
Yep.
I don't know what the numbers were.
Bergman struggled. She hit 100. Anna Christina hit 230.
Medium.
And she was the best player. Like that's the thing. When I talked about the stars showing up, Eganu hit 160. Like Eganu and Rosa Maria canceled each other out on the right side essentially. And then
Rosa
Anna
Maria
Christina
did better than Egonu.
They both had 14 points. Eganu hit 170. Rosa Maria hit 160.
Okay.
Like they were almost identical statistic wise. And then Anna Christina was just by far the best left side. And that was kind of the difference. I thought Brazil's strategy of shutting down the Italian middle was really good. Like they got tons of touches, lots of slowdowns. They were focused on that piece and then about controlling Eganu. Like we're going to make the left sides beat us. And their left sides for Italy did not play well. Silla only had 12 kills, 170. Nervini had 14 kills, hit 100. Like their left sides just weren't good enough. And I mean, Eganu wasn't good either.
No, Egonu was not good. But then we see Anna Christina get absolutely shut down in set 1 in the final. And she just looked like she was trying to find it the whole match. Like obviously she scored points.
Yep.
She found ways to score, but she was not the Anna Christina that we typically see. In this matchup, you would think it would be a battle between Anna Christina and Vargas. Vargas stepped on her throat.
Yes. Dominated.
It wasn't even close. I found the energy on Brazil's side to be really weird too. They were trying to it felt to me like they were trying to manufacture intensity and excitement, but it just felt nervous. I mean, Julia brings a ton of energy naturally. Rosa Maria also brings energy, but I feel like it's different. It's a different type of energy coming from her.
It's a little more directed to the other side of the court versus inward.
Yeah.
It's
it pumps
chippy.
herself up.
Yeah.
It pumps herself up. It's not really like bringing it into the team.
Do you think that part of that frustration was with the setting?
From who?
From the outside, like from the left sides?
No, I'm not even saying that I saw frustration.
Okay.
The energy that I saw, like Turkiye was like, we are coming in, we're going to take this from you. Brazil kind of looked like they were letting the game happen to them. I felt like they were trying to act like they were going to take it, but it was not, it was manufactured instead of intentional. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were asked a question about Brazil. It said, I'd like to know your opinion on Brazil's team not being able to win a single VNL gold medal. They've played in 5 finals, lost every single one. Of the 8 VNL editions so far, Brazil still hasn't won, but is the team with the most VNL medals. Some people think that this is due to psychological issues, believing that the team gets too nervous. Others think the problem is the VNL schedule, since the semis and finals are played on consecutive days. The schedule has nothing to do with it.
No, because everybody's playing the same schedule. So that's irrelevant. Now, for me, there's 2 things at play here. So the first one is, at this point, yes, there's some mental scar tissue around winning. So that is a real thing. I would say that's probably not the case for the first 2 or 3, but definitely now it's a thing that they think about going into the final.
Well, I think it ties into what I was saying about like they just looked off.
Agreed.
And like they were trying to like manufacture emotion and intensity and stuff. I didn't question it up until this point, until the final. And I was like, something just seems off.
So I definitely think that part is mental, but I think that there's also another component to that, in that in those moments where things get tight or there's pressure, for me, it's your skilled positions who can kind of settle the group down, and they don't have anybody who meets that profile in those positions. So, for example, passing can be a little jittery. I'm not saying this is the case in the final, but you have a libero who runs the defense, who can settle everybody down, get back to the game plan. Like, that is your defensive captain. And your setter is your offensive captain, finding a rhythm for guys, making a good decision, settling the hitters in. But Roberta is dealing with her own things. I think in those two positions specifically, they don't have a leader who can help get over that mental hump. It's everybody has to do it. And I think those two positions are particularly capable of doing that. I mean, they're going to have to find a way to do this as a group and just get the monkey off the back. But it's definitely easier said than done.
I mean, we've talked in the past about how sometimes you just like hit this roadblock of like you can never make it to a semi and like then finally overcome it, or like you can never make a final and then you finally do. I feel like this is Brazil's roadblock, is like they consistently make finals, just figuring out how to get that gold medal. You know what I mean? That is their roadblock. We did also get a question about Italy. The question we got about Italy is, do you think Dagenaro's retirement affected Italy's outcome? It just seems like the defense isn't organized on who's covering what in transition, and maybe the pass to Oro isn't as strong. If not, what do you think led to their outcome?
I mean, it definitely played a part. Anytime you replace somebody who is that good and has been a staple of a team, there's going to be changes that are required. Do I think they lost because she wasn't there? No.
I thought Fursino did a really good job.
Agreed.
Throughout VNL.
Agreed. Honestly, I said this before, your top players in this VNL had to show up and outperform the other top players, and I didn't think Aganu did that.
I mean, Aganu didn't even show up till week 3, but yeah, in the semi in particular, she did not look good. The connection between Danese and Oro seemed off. Like, they just seemed less crisp overall. And I would say, I mean, yeah, when Dagenaro's there, you can give her almost half the court to pass and you know she's going to handle it. So is that a loss? Absolutely. But I felt like
I thought their issues were offensive.
System just seemed not as efficient.
And I didn't think it was because of the passing.
Mm-mm.
They have to go through a little bit of an identity change, I feel like, and just in terms of where they're going to score their points. I don't think their middles were as effective as they normally are. Aganu wasn't there, and a lot of their starters didn't show up till week 3, so it makes sense that it wasn't quite as clean in terms of their ability having played together. Am I panicking about Italy? No. We'll see what happens in Euros when they've had a little more time to train together and they're all playing. If we see this again, then it might be time to look at it and go, okay, what are we doing on the left side? Who's going to score our points? What happens, if Aganu isn't going? I'm pumping the brakes before we say, hey, there's an issue here currently.
And then obviously the last thing, I mean, I know you want to touch on Japan. Do you want to do that first?
Yeah, and for me, Japan is playing really well, and they finish about where I think they should finish. They are incredibly skilled. I think they get the most out of their team. I think they still need to do a better job of the middle pipe combo to own the middle of the court. They don't have a Vargas and Anna Cristina, a stud like that. Their outside core has to all be playing at 90% plus for them to beat good teams. And that's just not consistently realistic. What can they do? They all have to show up in the big moments. And I think that's a really hard way to win. We got a ton of questions about USA finishing first in VNL and then losing to China, who didn't even qualify for the playoffs. Give me your initial thoughts on this scenario.
Watching the match, I was confused. I was confused about a bunch of things. Number one, I know Asia O'Neil has a ton of fans out there. And I'm not saying that she played poorly or anything. Like she didn't play poorly, but you have an option on the bench who was the number 1 blocker in the Paris Olympics, started for the Champions League winning team, is one of the most highly sought after middle blockers in the world. Why is she on the bench?
And one of your only players with serious winning pedigree. Like you have maybe Poulter and Thompson. It's just, yeah.
I'm very, very confused by that. And honestly, I feel bad for her. And again, I'll reiterate, not that Asia O'Neil was bad, but like, what is Chiaka Ugbagu doing on the bench?
The only thing I could think of was they ran her predominantly on the shoot.
Who?
O'Neil.
Okay.
And I was wondering if that was like a game plan thing. That's how they wanted to score points or attack China. That was the only thing I potentially thought of. But yeah, I was shocked at that starting decision because I didn't hear that Obagu was injured or anything.
I'm also confused about, and we've talked about it in past episodes, what the heck happened to your back row attack? Particularly on the pipe, the bic, whatever. What happened to it?
Gone. Disappeared.
It was your top attack. It just didn't look great. And my third thing is, what the heck was going on with the left sides?
It was...
Avery Skinner has proven herself to be your most consistent left side for the past 2 seasons. She has a couple rough passes at the end of set 2. Okay. But then you go and you put in Maddie Banks, who, has had a decent VNL up to this point, put her in, which I'm assuming is for ball control purposes. Keep her in set 3, at which point she bleeds out at the end of set 3 single-handedly.
4 points responsible, I believe.
And US had a chance to win that set. Then you keep her in. Then you keep her in for Eggleston. And then you're just doing like a revolving door of left sides, which makes no sense whatsoever. Like, what are you doing? It seemed just like desperation. Panic in the streets over here. Then we go back and we're hearing the up and down timeout again. You got to be kidding me. The wheels fell off. And just the cart was in shambles. It was tough to watch. The confusion is the word for me watching that.
Does this loss, because we talked about our thoughts on the US and them kind of finding a rhythm, maybe finding an identity in pool play of VNL, going, okay, here we go. The coaching staff is
finding an identity, which we identified as heavy hitters on the pins. And then you take Avery Skinner out.
Well, and Eggleston hit 160 in that match. So
we have to say, though, Jordan Thompson played very well.
As did Dana Redke.
I feel really bad for Thompson because we were like, okay, she took a season off. How's she going to come back? She played outstanding.
Yeah.
Okay. Was scoring at will almost. I felt so bad for her. Dana Redke did her job. She played well. They didn't set her enough.
Agreed.
And, they got away from, I'm at a loss for words here. Anyway, continue.
I guess my question to you was going to be, we gave the coaching staff credit for putting together game plans, solid roster management. Like, you finished first in the VNL.
Well, then you come out and
consistency.
Rush China in set 1.
Right. My question is...
Then you're up big in set 2 and lose, I believe. It's been a while.
Do you think that this was the coaching decisions? Like, they have athletes who should know how to win. Let's say we had a pie chart of blame for that loss. Where would you put your percentages or assign blame?
I don't know. I think the things that happened with the left sides, I think it disrupted rhythm. I think it created confusion. So I'm laying that at the coach's feet. I'm not sure they expected China to push back the way they did. And let me tell you, they had attitude. They are very young, but they had attitude, particularly the middle blocker. Are you kidding me? Like, China is usually keep it in house, bring it in the middle.
Real
whatever
respectful.
you need to say. But this girl was going after the refs. They were like getting chippy. I was like, okay, I love this side of them. they pushed back. And I think after winning that first set as handily as they did not expect that and were a little slow on the uptake to make any adjustments. Then the adjustments they made were incredibly questionable. I keep thinking about how smug Eric Sullivan seemed when they started like rolling in preliminary and how they like started winning and stuff and were number one. Like he just like had this smug attitude, and then like to have this be the response after, I'm just like,
I have so many questions running through my head. Like, do they not know how to compete in close sets? Because they won those sets they won big, right? 25-15, 25-17, and then they lost 25-23, 25-20. But that set was close going into 20 before the errors from Maddie Banks, and then 15-13. And they only hit 160 as a team in set 5 after hitting over 300 in the rest of the set. So I'm wondering, is it coaching? Is it adjustments? Is it the feeling on the floor from the changes? Should we just expect the athletes to be able to execute? Taking Avery Skinner off happened too soon, and you didn't give her a chance to get back into the match. That to me was the big sin.
We got some questions.
Okay.
So one of them said, of course, after this, everyone's calling for Eric Sullivan's firing again. Do you think the U.S. is now in too deep with Eric Sullivan, considering LA 2028 is approaching? If the U.S. hired a new coach now, do you think that's enough time to build a new team where bridges have already been burned with certain players, or even be able to develop a new culture of success? If he was fired, do you think it could be an overreaction, considering that the team looked decent in qualifications? I don't think they're going to get rid of him.
I don't think they're getting rid of him either. It's too easy to justify, like, hey, you were really consistent for 3 weeks. You finished first. You know, we had one match where maybe we shouldn't have made some of those decisions. But if we take a step back and look at his growth, but also the staff's growth from VNL 1 to VNL 2, it's massive. They were more coherent. They had systems in place. You know, they went from, I don't even know what they finished last year in VNL.
They lost in the quarters.
To finishing first overall.
I think they had to play Italy in the quarter.
So they did not finish well in pool play to finishing first.
We'll never forget the China mishap of last year, which put them in the position to have to play Italy in the quarters.
Yeah. So they're not getting rid of him, and you have to hope that he's going to learn and the staff is going to learn their lessons as quickly as possible in the heat.
I think even if they changed, though, it's not enough time to mend relationships that maybe have broken and try to convince those players to come back. I think that is said and done for this cycle. I think it's too hard to create that new identity and culture and everything because, you know, you technically have one season left, like for real, because 2028 is like fine tuning, making sure you're ready to go. You're not like implementing
healthy
new things necessarily. So I think that the timeline is too short, even if they did want to fire him. But I mean, they finished first in the prelims. I mean, the way they went out, I think is unacceptable. But yeah,
it's an overreaction to fire him off that one match. If you look at it from the other side, they lost 15-13, right? Like it's close. They're not
lost to a team that didn't even qualify.
Fair, but yeah, they're not getting rid of him.
And the next question: prior to the 2024 Olympics, all key players on the U.S. team were playing in the strongest leagues like Italy and Turkey. Going into the 2028 games, it looks like most of them will be playing in Love. Do you think this might affect their performance come Olympics time? Even though Love improves, the level is still below those two leagues. Well, I think it's worth saying that like they didn't even have the option to play Love going into 2024, and I'd be curious to think like what the players would have done if Love had existed going into those games. Not sure. So I think we have to say that like they didn't have the choice back then.
I mean, we come back to...
I mean, you have Chiaka Abagu who won Champions League with Vakavbank and isn't even starting. So I don't know.
We talk about this all the time. Playing against the best competition makes you better. Period. Does it mean they can't win if they play Love? No, of course not. But if you're looking at doing everything you can to be prepared to compete at the highest level in the most pressure situations, you play in the best leagues.
Honestly, I feel like it's in-game adjustments. I think these athletes are capable of doing good things, but like I listen to the Italian timeouts, for example. They are being given very specific tasks to take care of. Blocking assignments, defensive positioning. He is telling them, reminding them of the game plan. If the game plan has changed, he's like, we need to do this on block, this on defense. Servers, you need to look at this. Like, he is giving them concrete, actionable items as opposed to, let's go, we got this.
Encouragement.
Like, what? Like, I don't need that. Are you kidding me? I think that is the big difference is like, I think the players are capable. They have proven that they are capable, finishing first in the prelims, but like, you need to give feedback that they can act on.
Well, I think the interesting piece about that is the adjustments come when you have tons of time to prepare for teams and you have contingencies. Like, you don't have as much time to prepare in the pool play matches. So, yes, you rely on your athletes' talent. You can win some of those matches. I think it's telling that come final time when you're playing against teams that have had, a week to prepare for you, that does make a difference. And I mean, if we compare the U.S. coaching staff to the top women's teams, they're at the bottom in terms of how they would make adjustments, how they communicate, experience. So I think that definitely plays a factor.
But like, even if you don't have time, like have somebody on staff who is able to like analyze what's going on in the moment and offer suggestions. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I understand that like it is a very specific skill set and not everybody is able to like do that in the moment, but like find somebody who is.
Well, and you look at the top teams, like even look at the men's side. You listen to Gerbic, you listen to Karch, you listen to Santarelli in Turkey has very specific information. Like the top coaches talk to their players in a very similar way, and they're very connected with their stats guys in terms of what they're looking at. Is the plan deviating? Is it working? The U.S. coaching staff hasn't hit that cohesiveness yet.
Well, and I would argue that in the college game, you can get away without being able to do that.
Agreed.
Especially where like Eric Sullivan came from, like Texas usually
they're better.
Is just better. And so that level of detail and that level of like adjustment in the moment probably isn't required. And as somebody who played college, you don't really need to make that many adjustments because people do what they do. Last question before we can wrap up the women's side here is somebody threw out a question of who would win this matchup. The team who played versus China. So Poulter, Rodriguez, Skinner, Eggleston, Thompson, Retke, O'Neill, or the non-injured roster who didn't play or the wide roster not selected, such as Jenna Gray, Elena Scott, Lanier, Sarah Franklin, Kendall Kipp, Ogbogu, and Butler. I mean, could be just like a rhetorical question, but I'm curious what you think.
I mean, if both Plummer and Franklin are healthy.
But they put Lanier because Plummer is considered injured, so she couldn't have made the trip anyway. So Lanier, Franklin versus Skinner, Eggleston. Then we've got Kipp, Thompson. Thompson wins that matchup.
Wins.
But then the middles of Retke, O'Neill versus Ogbogu, Butler. And you could make arguments that Elena Scott would have performed better than the liberos. I don't know.
The setting goes to Poulter for me, and the right side goes to that team. But again, it comes down to left side libero.
The middles, I think if you take those two matchups, I think it could be pretty.
It's pretty
even.
close. Yeah.
It's interesting though. Like, yeah, that's wild to me.
The fact that Franklin wasn't there.
I mean, is she injured? I know I've been asking this. Where is she?
I don't know.
Is she injured?
I'm not sure, but that's an option where you can score points. Like you would put her in for Skinner if Skinner was having trouble.
Like she did in club.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can speculate all day. But end of the day, Turkiye champions coming back for that repeat after 2023. We will see what happens with Turkiye come Euro champs. Will Kara Kurt be a starter? Will they stick with what they know worked? Lots of things in the air, but that is coming up in just a couple weeks, so we'll find out.
Okay, let's dive into the men's final. And I will say I actually enjoyed watching the men's matches more than I did the women's this VNL for maybe the first time. Like I normally prefer watching the women's.
Did we say this last year too?
I don't think so.
We might have. Men's volleyball has been growing on me more and more. It's gotten so much better. More viewer friendly.
Yeah, the rallies are better. The decisions, the serve and pass, the systems that teams are developing. Like they now have 3. You're in system, you're around the attack line, you're out of system, and their setter's ability, like just the skill and athleticism.
The defensive ability,
yeah.
the serving. Whoa.
I think just for me, spectacular.
Yeah.
Like the matches we watched were just thoroughly entertaining. I think there's a couple storylines. I mean, I think a lot of the big ones came in pool play, actually, with France and Brazil not making it, with Canada being relegated.
Ukraine making moves. Turkiye making moves.
Yeah. So there were some, I actually think our predictions were quite good on the men's side, which
somebody's going to go back and listen to last episode and be like, actually, they weren't. But I'm pretty sure we nailed this.
I think we did too, if memory serves correctly. I mean, the quarterfinals were all relatively straightforward, except for USA, Italy, Japan, and China, straightforward. And then Poland and Slovenia winning against Turkiye and Ukraine. And it's to be expected, right? First time Ukraine and Turkiye are making the final 8. You're a little out of your depth. You're super excited to be there. And yes, they're all professional, but they're just not at those teams' levels yet. And those matches proceeded kind of as expected.
Yeah, I think we felt all quarters would be pretty straightforward, except the Italy-USA one. We thought that one would be
closer.
Either way, really. They were straightforward, but the USA-Italy one was also straightforward, which was a bit of a surprise.
It was an outstanding match.
Full disclosure, I was not able to watch this one. Adam watched this one.
There were a couple things that stood out. That might have been the best serving match I've ever seen a team put on the floor from top to bottom. Karch, I think, gave everybody and their sister the green light to hit the hardest serves that they could find, and the U.S. did not miss. I think they had 6 aces in the first 2 sets, and they were just bombing serves and causing Italy a ton of problems. Italy was trying to do this pass movement where they were trying to get their libero in the middle of the court, and it was just creating confusion on top of the ball coming so fast they couldn't get set up for seams. The passing was the biggest issue. Italy couldn't find a rhythm, and they fought to try and do that, but the serving, normally with that kind of pace, you see errors happening, and they just didn't miss. Haynes was unstoppable. Anderson served well. Christensen, across the board, it was uncanny to watch. You almost felt bad for Italy.
But just think of how liberating it is to have a coach just tell you, hit it, hit your serve. Who cares? We've talked about this in the past, how when coaches are like, you better not miss in the net, how that just makes you think about it and you can't execute a good serve because they're just holding you back in this way. But can you imagine the reverse of that, of being told, I don't care what happens, go back and hit it? How freeing that is. That is incredible.
And it worked for them. And I think you saw that throughout the VNL final. The US were really aggressive.
Yes.
I thought Romana played really well for Italy, but their left sides I thought struggled. Bottolo was pretty good. I mean, Haynes continued to play incredibly well.
Where'd they find this guy? You guys, we've been talking about Haynes this whole VNL of how the right sides for USA have just been very, very good. I looked at his volley box of where he's played. Okay, he played for some mid-level teams in Poland, Berlin Recycling. Okay, very good German team. And then he played for Olympiacos this past season. How did Karch dig through the archives to find him and be like, you know what, we're bringing you on? I want to know how that all unfolded, because he might have just made a career for himself with this VNL, life-changing.
So I have a question for you about this. We often see athletes who are relatively unknown.
And again, let's repeat. We will reiterate. Somebody's going to come out here and be like, you guys don't know anything. I have been playing until pretty recently. Adam has also been on sort of the same journey. We have not been diving in to men's volleyball that closely until the last year or so. But I'm
But
just
he's-
ready for somebody to be like,
Sure.
you know,
Say what you want. He's not a household name for the USA.
okay, fine. Yeah, fair.
He's a little unorthodox. Like, he's real big. He's 7 feet. He sometimes jumps off one foot. He's not the best jumper.
Falling sideways.
His arm swing is a little funky. So my question is, you can watch a player like that on video, but until you see him and play against him, I think there's a calibration period. So my question is, do you think that style of play will carry through and he's this player going to the Olympics? Or do you think there's, an unknown bump until players kind of find his angles and understand how he plays the game a little bit? I thought about that a couple times watching him play, wondering, like, is this going to be his best tournament?
Maybe, but I will speak from personal experience. I hated playing against unorthodox players. I hated it. Because, like, you can't always read what's going on. Plus, add the fact that he can't really jump that well, and it just throws things off even more. And then jumping sideways and not getting a full approach, or just standing and jumping. Like, I hated playing players like that because it's not as cut and dry what you're reading. So maybe not, but like watching him, he also gives me the impression of just like unwavering confidence, which I think can carry him like pretty far.
And you can't take his serve away from him. Like, his serve will
was
always be there.
incredible.
He's hitting the snot out of the ball. So
Yeah.
that was just a curiosity having watched him play. I think one of the other storylines was DeFalco didn't play at all.
Yeah. Does anybody know about that? Was he injured? Did something happen? Somebody tell us.
So one thing I did find interesting was, so the U.S. served really, really aggressively for the first 2 sets. One, off the strength of their serve. And then in the third set, you could see them let off just a little bit. Italy started passing better. The offense was clicking. Italy had chances to win that third set. And it was interesting, in the timeout, you heard the stats guy or the video analysis, who is Italian, coming to the guys and saying, you need to serve harder. You need to serve harder. We need to take risks. They're too far in system. And so just listening to the messaging coming off, both from the head coach, from the video analysis, from the assistant coach, like, they're all on the same page in terms of the strategy. And you could see them make some errors in the middle of that third set while trying to put the service pressure on, but they did find it again and ended up pulling it out. So it's good when the message is cohesive across the board and they have a game plan and they're watching for that and giving feedback. Would you have considered that an upset, or was that a coin flip for you?
I mean, last week when we were talking about it, we were like, oh my gosh, this is the toughest one. Given how the US was playing, I thought it was going to be a coin flip, but ultimately in our prediction, we did pick the US, I believe.
I think you're correct.
I did not think it was going to be 3 straight. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. The fashion in which they won was surprising, I think. Men's semifinals. Poland rolled Slovenia pretty easily. Just kind of looked at the box scores at that one after seeing the scores. I mean, we know Poland has been playing incredibly well, but we did watch the USA-Japan game. Thoughts on that one?
Oh my goodness. So Japan won the prelim matchup in 5.
In 5.
And I believe we were like, can they do it again? And our conclusion was no. But dang, that was an exciting match.
Maybe one of the most entertaining of VNL.
It was so good. Again, I mean, this goes across the board, not just for the semifinal. It happened in the final. It happened, whenever. But like Karch Karai's strategic use of his bench, he is making use of at least 11 or 12 athletes in any given match, whether it's a serving sub, whether it's a blocking sub, a double sub, you know what? And everybody is ready, and they usually go in and execute their job really well.
In pressure situations.
Honestly, I'm talking about it now, but that's across the board. My question is, are you a Nishida or a Miura fan?
It's a great question. I think I would go Miura.
Me too. I know Nishida is like in the like Ishikawa Ran territory as far as like fame or whatever. But I am a Miyaura fan. I don't know. I just like his style. They're both left-handed, so it's like a direct comparison almost. I just get a better vibe from him. And Nishida started this match. Miyaura came in as part of like a substitution run now and then. I don't know.
Nishida has that crossbody snap down the line as a lefty.
I feel like that's Miyaura's favorite swing too.
Miyaura will swing a little more aggressively cross court. They can both do it, but I feel like Nishida is a more line first swinger, and Miyaura will go for that hard angle more often and take a little more risk against the block. I also think he's a better blocker. I do think Nishida has a better serve, and I think he's better defensively.
Have you seen clips of Miyaura hitting that serve? He has knocked people out.
I would be curious what the stats are. I don't have them off the top of my head.
That is just my thing.
They do have two very good options at that position. What do you think the difference in that match was?
I would probably say the frequency that US ran the middle versus Japan. I think Japan played very well. Their outsides held it down. Their opposites did a good job. Splinter the Rat, aka Fukatsu.
Unbelievable.
It was great. I think that the connection that Christensen, we have been talking about McHenry's and Christensen's connection and how it's like sometimes there, sometimes not. In that match, it looked pretty good. Avril came in and played well. I just think that they set the middles more frequently than Japan did, which thereby allowed them to run a more balanced offense. And the way that they were able to run the quick with the slightly shifted Bick coming over top of McHenry, it's virtually unstoppable. Yeah, it's because they were setting the ball to the middles that opened that up to give them almost no block.
I also thought that the speed of Japan's offense didn't give USA's middle blockers as much trouble as I was expecting. There's obviously
last episode when you were like, yeah, man, McHenry, the closing that block. I was like, I don't think movement is his issue. And I remember calling you out when we were watching that too. I was like, oh yeah, that movement laterally.
And I think a lot of that was preparation. They made good decisions in terms of trying to understand where the ball was going to be. And they did a good job of closing and getting touches and slowdowns. I mean, it was an outstanding game. It was very close, back and forth. I think the U.S. had a little more service pressure than Japan did consistently. And that was...
I think that's the story of the finals for them, honestly, of the final 8.
Agreed. And they managed to do that. And Japan didn't really have an answer for Haynes. He scored a ton of points.
And Benjamin Button, a.k.a. Matt Anderson.
Wow.
This man, are you kidding me?
Yeah, the outsides were just a little bit better for the U.S. and their pipe over top was very good with the middles. It could have gone either way on executions down the road. It was an outstanding match.
I mean, last episode we were like, Japan 12-0, are they going to hold on to it? And we were like, I don't think so. It hurts me. What happened to Japan, it feels different to me than the American women. It hurts me that Japan finished 4th. They put together, I didn't watch the bronze, but they put together such a good semifinal match. I feel like the way that their fall from first place took place it just felt different than the American women to me.
Well, I think that's a completely fair assessment. They were in that match, we're talking 1 or 2 plays. They were prepared. They were competing. They never let their foot off the gas. We definitely could have been sitting here talking about a Poland-Japan final.
I'm curious how that would have looked.
Poland's too good.
Oh my gosh.
They're too good.
Okay, Poland though, 2025 VNL MVP Kochanowski didn't even play. Wasn't even there.
That's outrageous.
Okay?
And their
we
middles
just got
were
MVPs.
outstanding.
We just got MVPs everywhere. Jakubicek. I think he hit probably 800. That's an exaggeration. But I feel like he scored every time he hit except the last 2 balls.
And same with Lemansky. I don't think I've seen a men's team run the middle as much as Poland ran the middle, and they were just unstoppable.
Let's just talk about it because
Okay,
Adam has been obsessive about when we were watching the final. Is there anything else you wanted to say about Japan?
No, I love that match. I was heartbroken for them because they lost, but I would have been heartbroken for either team because it was just
good
so
volleyball.
good. Yeah.
Adam was on one watching the middles. Okay, the number of times I heard the same thing about Merrick McHenry and then comparing him to the Polish middles, I wanted to rip my hair out. Go for it. You can say it one more time.
Okay. If you are a middle player, go watch the Polish middles and watch their spacing off the net from their setter and how they create a huge window for their setter to get the ball to them, keeping it in front of them, allowing them to hit both 5 and 1 at a super high touch point. Like, it was perfection.
Textbook.
They adjust based off of the pass. They're available all the time. It was amazing to watch, quite frankly.
Like, the sets are slightly off the net, but their jump location is so far off the net. They have every angle available to them with power
and vision.
As opposed to McHenry, who Adam couldn't stop talking about.
Well, you can see he's always pulling the ball from behind him, and the way his shoulders are, he can only hit it to 5. Now, he hits from a super high position. He can hit the ball hard, and he's got angles, but he can't really pull the ball back to 1 with any power. It's a chop. If he kept himself off the net and kept the ball in front of him, I think he would be offensively almost unstoppable. And I hope they watch that film because I don't think I've seen two middles on a team consistently do that better ever. Shout out to the Polish middles. I thought they were outstanding.
There you go. Okay. They were outstanding. Fornal, MVP. He's got a little chip on his shoulder. He likes to look across that net. I'm not opposed to it.
Well, and in fairness, he was lined up against Haynes, who I feel like
he at various times he was lined up against both Haynes and Christensen.
Fair enough. Most of the daggers I saw across the net, I think, were directed at Haynes. And you watch Haynes play, and I think most left sides would probably feel the same way playing against him. But that being said, Fornal is this strange mix of totally laid back and crazy if you look at his eyes when he scores points. He's a fascinating player to watch, and his little, you have athletes who toe the line in terms of the rules when they're doing jump volleys and they're just making sure that it's traveling up.
What did you think of that
down.
Jump volley? Because I was not a fan. I don't think the trajectory was up enough for them to let it go.
No, but that's not the rule. The rule is not, it has to be up enough.
It looked pretty flat to me. Not to mention he was taking it from his chest.
So
which could be considered a lift.
I don't like it, but I admire his ability to play within the rules and cause havoc. It's cheeky. I think he did it 2 or 3 times.
I don't like him. He was bothering me so much.
It's a smart play to take something out when a team's not expecting it within the rules of the game.
Well, that also reminds me of the Balladine trick. Going back to the women's, she would go up with 2 hands, like she was going to throw it down with 2 hands, go up with 2 hands, but then only tip it with 1. And as soon as Brazil was seeing the 2 hands come up, they were ready for the throw. She scored on that thing at least 3 times.
If it's in the rules and you can use
that,
it,
I feel like is more okay than the little chest height set over with the 1 centimeter elevation. Anyway, he got MVP.
Yeah.
Would you have given him MVP?
If you weren't going to give it to a middle, then yes.
Semeniuk was so good. Let's also talk about that. So Leona Fornal started. Semeniuk, he's always good to come in through the back row. At least,
make a clutch serve, make a clutch dig.
But they actually ended up keeping Semeniuk on the left side, Leon on the bench, only to bring Leon back to play right side to finish the match. Name, like, that trio to be able to do that is wow.
Do you think Semeniuk starts on any other team?
I mean, He's a very interesting player. He is so technically sound. He is like the perfect P2.
Yes. He might be the best technical volleyball player in the world right now.
Oh my goodness, I'm obsessed with him.
Me too.
And he even showed some emotion, which he is usually deadpan. I think he's so good. It's like the block is closed, he'll find your hands. There's a space in the block, he'll hit it to the floor. Period.
Just his physical execution with his decision making is almost unmatched. Yeah, can't say enough good things about him.
Okay, so the final went 5. Do you think that that is representative of the two teams? Would you have expected Poland to win in 3 or 4? Do you think that that is an accurate representation of where those teams are at compared to each other?
The way the 5th set ended was more representative, I think, of how they are. Poland read the last 4 plays and got, I think, stuff blocks on 3 of them. And you could see them playing the odds and calculations at the end of the game to set up double blocks. And it happened like they were leaving guys with no blocks because they knew what was going to happen. I think they're physically well matched, but I think Poland as a group and as a unit is more intelligent is the wrong word.
Cerebral.
Yes, that's exactly the word I'm looking for. And I think right now, if they play 10 times, I think Poland wins 8. Because I think you have 2 games where the US might just serve the lights out.
Yeah. Down the stretch, we saw the cracks in the US armor. We saw a swing and a miss from the middle. We saw, just complete shutdowns. We saw hammering ball out about. I think at the end, Poland just rattled off points and then it was over.
And you can see, we go back to the blocking. It's like Semenya got a 1-on-1 on Robinson. They left him there and they were watching right side middle. And then on the next play, Semenya and the middle committed on McHenry, playing the percentages that Christensen wasn't going to go back to Robinson. Now he did, and Robinson had a no-man block and scored. But that level of thinking, I don't think you see happening on the US side yet. They'll
From
get there.
Everybody, no. I think certain players, yes.
I think they need more time and more experience together as a group to function defensively as well as Poland functions as a unit. And I think that's the difference.
I mean, I think the better overall team won that match.
I agree. Like, they're better in the middle. I think Mike is probably a better setter than the Polish setter, but not by much. Polish guy runs a really good offense. The left sides are different. I don't know if I would say which one is better. Again, it was a great match. You can see the strategy. You can listen to the coaches talk about what they're trying to execute. They're battling point for point. Now, the question I have for you is, do you think it's a different outcome or a different match if DeFalco is playing and serving well?
I mean, his serve is always good for a few aces.
Yeah.
Every match. Yeah. I mean, do I think the US would have won if DeFalco was playing? Not necessarily.
I want to see that matchup.
Yeah, I would want to see that.
I thought the final was outstanding. The 5-set matches back and forth, watching the adjustments, watching what teams are doing. Like, that to me is the fun part of the game, of the strategy of, like, the players are good enough to execute what the coaches are seeing. Both of those coaches are completely cerebral in how they read and see the game. The staffs are good. Like, it's back and forth. We need to do this. Adjustments happening across the board, front row, back row. It's volleyball at its best, quite frankly. And the athletes were incredible.
Poland pulls it off again.
They're just better than everybody else.
They had a rough week
right
one,
now.
baby, but they got it on track. No problem. They cruised through the quarters and semis. I'm glad that the final was really close. It was fun. It was really fun to watch, for sure. That's it for 2026 VNL. I can't believe it.
It was a good one.
Can't believe it. Yeah, it's been exciting. The Continental Championships are happening in a couple weeks. We got some Olympic berths up for grabs. We'll see what happens. Who comes out of each continent as the winner? But that was really fun. Congrats to Poland again on the men's side, and congrats to Turkiye on the women's side. VNL champs 2026.
In the books.
All right, let's dive in to some listener questions. We did answer several in our women's segment, but we've got some other ones. So a mixed bag of what we've got on tap today. Question 1 for both of us. Would you rather have a setter who will do a standard jump set or a setter who standing sets the ball but uses the time in between to look where the block is?
Both.
That's not the question.
I feel like at the highest level, you need to be jump setting. It speeds up the offense. It allows you to connect with your middle in a more meaningful way. The discrepancy of knowing where to set, but only setting from the ground, I think would be less of an advantage than being able to deliver a faster offense.
If I'm thinking about my own skills as a player, I was always comfortable hitting against a double block, so I didn't really care. So I would probably pick a jump set as well. Like, I was fine hitting against a double block. So I would say, like you, let's deliver a fast offense with a jump set.
Yeah, because even if you make the right decision and the set is slow or slower, there's still a good chance the middle will close.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting question.
Question 2, on the new push, carry, catch, throw rule, whatever.
Love that rule, by the way.
I feel like this is being called pretty inconsistently depending on the referee. For example, the setter on 2 attacks sometimes look like a clear hold, but they're not getting called. Is there any chance of this getting standardized across officiating?
100% it's going to become... I
don't know. It's a subjective call. Like, can something that's subjective ever become completely standardized? I feel like we will continue to see arguments about this until the end of time.
Yes, 100%. Whenever there is some form of decision for the referee, there will always be a little bit of discrepancy, but it will get better than it currently was for this VNL. So for those of you who don't know, like, what happens in between weeks is the head referees will compile a list of clips that were called, and all of the refs will sit in a room and they'll all watch these clips and they will say, hey, this is what we want. This is not what we're looking for. This is what we want. And so there is a refining process that is happening while the VNL is going on. It will get more consistent. Will it ever be all the same? No. But also to this point, I think there's a little more leeway with setters going on too than with attackers who are moving the ball around. So it's not just consistency from setter to hitter. I think you have to look more positionally, specifically in this question.
But do you think the setters need to be held to the same standard as the attackers?
No, honestly.
Really?
I mean, they're coming a little bit further this way with the left-handed dumps. It can't be outrageous.
I think it needs to be standard. Like, if they're going to hold on to the ball, like, I think it needs to be a fast contact as well. Maybe not like a fingertip, tip, but like fast. Because I saw a couple in the finals.
I agree.
I thought should have been called.
I agree with the fast part, but I think you'll see them be able to move it a little bit more than the attackers are when they're moving the ball around.
I'm just glad we're not going to see any more setter two-handed block dumps.
Yes.
Those drove me crazy.
Yeah. I do think it will be better next year, probably.
Okay, question 3. Lately, I've seen some women's teams running the pipe with their opposites, while in the men's game, it's pretty much 100% D-ball for opposites and pipes for outsides. Is this because the women's game has less outsides that can hit a good pipe, or is there more to it? I think it's because in the men's game, you don't see the middles running slides. You very, very rarely see the middles on the men's side running behind the setter at all. Even like a quick ball right behind the setter is pretty rare. So that opens up the entire right side of the court where there's no attacker, which is why we're seeing the right sides always hitting the D ball in the men's game. On the women's side, because there's so much movement with the middle attack, you're able to move your right side around more to make her an option, whether it's in between a pipe in a slide, whether it's to have her run the straight slide if you want your outsides to just focus on passing. So for me, it is completely dependent on how the middle system functions between the genders.
I think that is the biggest reason. I also think there are some women who are maybe your P2 who don't hit the back row ball as well as the right side. So you're like, hey, I don't really want you hitting that, but we still want a middle of the court option. And you have a right side who's more physical and more comfortable doing that. So I think most of the time your assessment is correct. I think there's probably a small fraction of times where it's a personnel decision as well.
Okay, question 4. Why do we have the middle blocker playing left back defense? Every college match I watch, the hitters immediately tip to the middle blocker and they can't get to it. It drives me crazy. Why don't the middles play middle back for the rotation while they are serving?
Because you got way more court to cover and you're generally making reads as a 6-back, which, I mean, you think most middles can't defend. They probably can't read either.
The 6-back defense, I would say, is much more nuanced than we think. The good 6-back players make it look easy, but it's not. Yeah, you're trying to see like how the block is forming. Is there a seam in the block? Is the block doing their responsibility? What is the hitter? Is the hitter going to look for hands? Are they going to try to carve it around the block? Like, you're looking at so many different possibilities that your defensive ability in 6 actually has to be a lot higher, I think, than in 5, which is also why I think we're seeing a lot of liberos starting to play in 6, particularly on the men's side, where the off the hands is a little more aggressive. Honestly, I feel like the play is to just have your middle go under for tips, have your left side blocker completely shut down the line, force the attackers into the angle or high hands to bring your like right side players, right back players and middle back into the defense more, and just be like, middle, any tip, you're just digging it. And then that will allow the right side or off blocker more freedom to just worry about the hard driven ball into the sharp angle. But yeah, you're right. Middles are historically and generally speaking a liability. There is the odd one that is very good. I'm looking at you, Dana Redke. I think she's a good middle blocker defender. Okay, question 5. In your most recent episode, you talked about relegation and playoffs and how a country's investment into developing their volleyball level is related to those things, both respect to high investment countries like France and Brazil not making the playoffs, as well as concerns about how Canada's top players will fare in coming years due to relegation. I don't know much about the economics of volleyball, so we speak of countries investing heavily or sparingly into a sport. What does that actually look like? Who does the investing and who receives the money? Obviously, the answer to this question varies depending on the country, but they're asking, is it from the government? Is it from individual investors? Is it from professional leagues? And if there are such a multitude of sources of money, does the relegation for a country result in decreased funding? And does going into the VNL top 8 increase funding? So this is a very in-depth question.
Very nuanced.
And I mean, we have our experience with our Canadian system. Not sure, it probably is not the same across the board, but we can definitely speak to what we know. And so in Canada, the government does fund national team sports to an extent.
And I think that's the same for most countries. Like, there is a governing body that gives funds to different sports across the board.
In some countries, the budget for sport is much higher. Like Australia has a good budget. The US has a good budget. Canada does not. The government chooses to prioritize or bookmark for sport varies depending on the importance of sport in that culture. And it also depends on which sport is important to your country. If you're Canadian, hockey gets a lot of money. Volleyball does not. There are also private funding partners who, sometimes identify medal potential teams and, private organizations. There are sponsors that, I mean, you see on national team jerseys for volleyball sponsors.
There's a revenue share with VNL for the TV contract, I believe. So being in VNL does help you. Like you get a cut of the proceeds for that. The thing I'm not sure about is whether making the finals improves your percentage or not. I'm not sure of that. I would be surprised. I think it's probably just kind of across the board.
But it might be important within your own country.
Yes. I know that, for example, in Canada, the men got a bunch of funding because they were qualified for VNL when the women did not. So there are stipulations around some of that money. And again, each federation gets to make their own decisions on how they use those funds and what they go to.
So the money goes to the federation. So Volleyball Canada or like USA Volleyball gets the money, and then they decide how they're going to, divide it up. Now, getting relegated, yes, that will affect things. The government might give a smaller percentage. The private funding partners will then identify them as not having as much potential, and that money will be decreased. Sponsors might not be happy. There are so many different ramifications for doing well versus not doing well. So, yeah, for a country like Brazil, where the viewership and the popularity of the sport is there, like, will they be negatively impacted by not making the VNL Final 8? Probably not as much as Canada.
They might have some summits on performance, but I don't think the funding will be an issue there.
So, not even sure if that adequately answered the question, but there are many avenues to go about having money for a national team program. I think in Canada also the youth pay for a lot of it.
Yeah.
Because for youth national teams and stuff, you're required to pay. So I think that also goes toward like senior national team stuff. It's a lot. It's a very big question that's very difficult to answer, but hopefully we did a little bit.
There's a foundation there.
Okay, question 6. It seems the show focuses on indoor more than beach, but which sport do you prefer as a player, spectator, coach, or just follower?
I think indoor across the board.
Indoor across the board. Indoor across the board. I played beach for a while, a long time, but I always even while I was doing it, I identified as an indoor player. Indoor was always my first love. I prefer watching indoor. I think it's more exciting. Having a deeper knowledge of beach volleyball, I find it incredibly frustrating to watch a lot of the time. And then coaching wise, I prefer indoor as well.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I mean, both are nuanced. I enjoy doing both. I like the 6-man team aspect more than the 2-man team aspect.
Yeah.
It's tough when you coach beach if you have an athlete who just can't get over a mental hurdle or they're injured a lot. Like there's nothing you can do. I find that you spend more time babysitting beach athletes and trying to get them into a place where they can get on the court and compete in a good headspace. Whereas in indoor, you have a little more control because you can take players in and out and work with them. And so I think I like that part about it better as well. Coaching wise. Yeah. Playing wise at this point, I would like beach better because my knees don't hurt.
Okay, let's pretend you're not.
I liked playing indoor better.
And watching?
Indoor's more exciting. Yeah, agreed.
There you go. Okay, question 7. This is kind of building off of this last question. Given your incredible beach volleyball career and everything you've accomplished in the sport, I've always been curious why the podcast focuses almost exclusively on indoor. Is there a particular reason you don't really cover beach volleyball, especially during parts of the year where there isn't as much happening in the indoor game? Personally, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the beach side of the sport. Is this a conscious decision about the podcast focus, or is there a chance that we could expect the occasional beach volleyball segment in the future?
First and foremost, there's just too much to watch to do everything. We can't even keep up with just indoor. Time is a big aspect of it. Having been on the world tour for the last 10 years, watching beach is just not enjoyable at this point, I would say. You have a couple teams watching the best teams in the semis and finals, is fun to watch the strategy part. I find indoor much more engaging and interesting. And if I have a choice, even if we weren't doing the podcast, if I had a choice of where to spend my viewing time, it would be on the indoor side. I think it's a better product.
I mean, just from, as somebody who did both, I found beach volleyball to be much more challenging just from a mindset perspective of the athletes I encountered and dynamics between teams and within team. And it's just like a really different sport. And like growing up in the indoor community, it was very hard for me to digest at times. And so beach volleyball served a purpose for me. And I mean, I did enjoy playing it, but not nearly to the extent as I did indoor. Retiring from it, I really just like cut it out of my life completely. And I have not felt its loss, to be honest. So that's why we focus on indoor or why I prefer to focus on indoor is I have a complicated relationship with beach volleyball. Okay, question 8. What are your thoughts on running a play on 2 on a free ball? Instead of setting up an offense using 3 hits, have the libero set a quick tempo on a free ball coming over. I've seen it run a couple times. What do you think?
I love it. Your main objective is to score points. And if you're getting a free ball over, it means there's some sort of disruption on the other side of the net. If you have the ability to attack when the other team is not prepared, 100% you take it. I think it's super smart. Now, you need to do it enough to run the numbers to understand if it's effective, but the theory of attacking quickly when you have the opportunity makes all the sense in the world to me.
Okay, question 9. Let's say you're at the peak of your indoor career right now and you're able to play on any national team in the world. Given that all the current coaches and player rosters remain in place, which team would you pick? Okay, you pick for men, I'll pick for women. If I was at the peak of my career, given what the whole landscape looks like for who is where, I think the most logical place for me to go would be Brazil. They are in need of an opposite. They are clearly among the top. They're always in the discussion. They're always in semis or finals. They're just really struggling to like crack and win a gold medal. And so I would say, with who the personnel they currently have and how good they are, and with Zé Roberto coaching, like I would play for Brazil.
Okay, well, I'm going to throw a caveat at there. I was never good enough at the peak of my career to play on any of those teams.
Let's say that you are
a very good left
Matt
side.
Anderson style left side.
Okay.
A Matt Anderson clone.
Okay. I think the 2 teams that I would pick would be either the US or Poland.
You can't. Who are you going to replace on the US? Yourself?
Well, I'm not going to, okay.
Who are you going to replace on Poland? Leon? You have to look at who needs
as a left side, it's probably either Brazil. They kind of have a rotation on the second left side spot. Lucarelli is playing. I really like Bernardinho. So, I think that probably makes the most sense because, you have the left sides for Italy are very strong. For Poland, for US, they're very strong. Slovenian left sides play within their system very well. Yeah, I think we'll probably go Brazil.
We're both Brazilian here.
Yeah.
We're picking Brazil. Okay, last question. I feel like Adam can offer some of his wise insights into this. With the World Cup discussions about the U.S. pay-to-play youth sport model holding back player development, do you see similarity in volleyball? And if so, what is the path to improvement without leagues that are flush with cash to run their own academies? Or do you just have to wait for Love and MLV to be profitable enough to then move in that direction?
Oh, this is a massive question with no right answers because all the systems are different. I don't think the academy model is tough here because there's not enough money in volleyball on the men and women's side. I don't think.
I mean, you see IMG Academy, but they're also paying to be there.
Yeah. The real issue, like youth volleyball in North America, is you have a ton of participation. So really the only athletes that you're missing are the potential ones who can't afford to play. And I will say a lot of top clubs, both in Canada and the US, have scholarship programs for athletes who want to play. And so for me, this problem becomes about talent identification. So can you identify those really, really good athletes who are in underprivileged situations and encourage them to come out and play? Because I think the infrastructure is there. There's really good coaching at the youth level. You have, pretty much anybody can get a scholarship if you're working, diligently and are somewhat athletic.
It's challenging. I think for kids who are willing to be diligent and put the work in, yes, but there are so many things that like are benefiting the best of the best of the best, and the rest are kind of forced to fit in where they can.
I don't disagree. Like, I don't think there's a perfect model, but I think that there are lots of opportunities, and there's lots of club directors who genuinely want to see kids play the sport. I don't think that's an issue. I think it's finding those kids who want to play, who don't have the means. And whether that's a federation-led or state-led initiatives, I think that's where you put your effort into, because if you can get them to a club, they're going to have a chance.
I just think volleyball is so tough too, because you have the fees, which are crazy,
yes,
which barely cover anything. And then you're forced to travel around the country. But then on top of that, for the kids who are in need, the parents can't afford to take time off work.
Yeah.
They can't afford to miss work to take their kid to Kansas City for 5 days. Like, and then what? You know what I mean? It's just like the whole model is so broken, so broken. And then you look at Canada and you do identify the top talent and you force them to pay thousands of dollars to even be part of a system, a national team system. It's just, yeah, I'm reading this question, I'm leaning towards that you need to wait for the leagues to be profitable to create that, like, feeder system, because I just don't know how a lot of families can do it. And the very wealthy ones are the ones that are benefiting.
I think there are steps that the federations could take to empower clubs who are on the ground level, who see the different athletes. And maybe that's a USA scholarship fund or a Canada scholarship fund to pay for dues and things like that.
They're also, I know for Canada, they're struggling to even have enough money for their own national teams.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, then let's stick with the US.
I'm not trying to be contrarian here. I'm just saying, like, it's
I think at the end of the day, it's people who are on the ground, who are coaching, who have the ability to affect those kids, and you need to give them the resources to do that. I think that's the only feasible way to do it.
I think, yeah, the European models or in other countries are much better, I think.
So looking forward, for all intents and purposes, there's not a whole lot going on. The U17 World Championships start August 6th, I think, but there isn't much happening in the indoor world. We'll see the Continental Championships and the NCAA season kind of start up at the end of August around the same time. Hang out for the month, and there'll be lots of volleyball in a few weeks.
That concludes this week's episode of Volley Talk. There's always something shaking in the volleyball world, and we hope you enjoyed this little fix. Be sure to follow the show so you don't miss any updates, and we'd be so grateful if you'd leave us a 5-star review. You can also find us on Instagram at volleytalk_podcast. If there's a topic you'd like us to discuss, you can reach out on Instagram or at info@sarahpavin.com. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be back next week.